Ladies and gentlemen, is Gaucho being used by the state to bring tribal tensions within the country, to disrupt protests like the one of Albert Ojwang, where Gen Zs went to the streets to ask for the right and the justice for Albert Ojwang, who is a 31-year-old teacher who was captured from Homa Bay and taken to Nairobi police station only to be found dead the next day. Gaucho was seen the previous day giving money to goons and also taking goons to Nairobi CBD using motorbikes and shouting that the people who are coming to the protests are against John Badi. The protesters were not interested in the death of Albert Ojwang, saying that they were only interested because their own son, a Luo man, John Badi, was the one talking about the budget. And what is the coincidence between these two? You see, John Badi brought the budget when the protests were already ongoing. He did not wait for the protests to end, but he just decided to come with the budget so that the government can find a reason to ignore the protesters. And again, Gaucho came with goons saying that the people who came to protest were against John Badi. And who is this Gaucho and why is he always looking for trouble, trying to disrupt everything and always supporting the government that is allegedly killing Kenyans? Where did he come from? If you don't know Gaucho, here is a brief history of who Gaucho is. I don't know much about him, I just know what I have heard people saying. He was born in 1987 in Rongo, Migori County. But he came to the limelight in 2009 when he was involved with Raila Odinga's daughter, whose name is Rosemary Odinga. Later on, he was involved in grassroots mobilization. He became a so-called ghetto president because of mobilizing and organizing grassroots individuals from Mathare, Kisumu, and all those ODM strongholds. He started supporting Raila Odinga and he was rewarded handsomely by Raila Odinga and his people for being a good mobilizer. In 2022-2023 time, he was involved in Azimio protests. He was the one organizing the goons to come and protest wearing sufurias. That day, he was seen licking raw blood to show that he was ready for these protests. At that time, the current president, William Ruto, was in power, and the former deputy president was the one managing the protest. So the deputy president was able to manage the protests, although people say that he was targeting some individuals and he was shooting people. But I can tell you at that time, nobody died during the Azimio protests. 25 June, goons were seen moving with motorbikes to the CBD to prevent peaceful protesters from doing their job. Now, he is here bringing tribal tensions in the country regarding the issue of protest. He is saying that the people who came to protest were actually not all Kenyans. They were all Kikuyus, to be specific. He is saying that Kikuyus don't believe that a president or a CS can be out of their own region. And they are doing this, they are coming to protest to discredit the current government and to discredit his boss, Raila Odinga.
Kama mulikuwa mnapigania justice Ojwang, aliuliwa Central Police, mulikuwa mnaenda kufanya nini? Watu wa maandamano wenyu walikuwa kufanya nini parliament? Walikuwa wanaenda kufanya nini treasury? Kama siti ni uchokozi walikuwa wanatafuta, my friend. Hao watu wa Mount Kenya, target yenu mulikuwa mnataka kutumia Wajaluo na hii kifo ya nani kuingia kwa hii maandamano. Na Wajaluo sisi wajinga. Sisi tunachukua instruction kwa mtu mmoja ambaye anaitwa Raila Odinga. Mimi nataka kuambia, my friend, nataka kuambia nyinyi, Wacheni kutuletea hasira kwa social media. Wacheni kuletea hasira na kujaribu kusabotage country hii kwa sababu eti nyinyi amuko ni eti nyinyi si presidency. Unaona? Kama ni justice inatafutwa, Kenyatta mkubwa aliua watu ngapi? Kibaki aliua watu ngapi wakati alikuwa nini? Mkisema eti Gachagua, nimeona akisema ya kwamba eti Ruto ametengeneza eti hit squad ya watu 100 something. Mimi nauliza hata Gachagua, Uhuru alitengeneza kikundi ngapi ya kuua watu yenye alikuwa anapeleka watu Raila? Kibaki alitengeneza kikundi ambayo ilikuwa inaitwa Raila. Ilipoteza watu ngapi mpaka huko Mount Kenya wangapi? Kwa nini usiku wakina Boniface Mwangi ama nini kutoka Central wao kwa andamana? Wacheni upuzi na kuplay blame game na mind game na watu.
But let me ask you, who benefits when there is tribal tensions between communities in this republic? Because in this republic of ours, you and I went to school. I'm assuming most of you went to high school, others went to university. And when you went to high school, maybe a national school or a university, you never went there with your own tribesmen. You met other tribes and you stayed together and studied together. You were taught by professors from the Luo community, the Kamba community, the Kikuyu community. At that time, you never cared who was teaching you or who you were learning with. When it comes to election period, that's when you realize that the people you were actually studying with were actually your enemies. So, why do these tribal tensions only appear when there's political tensions? This tells you that it's only politicians who benefit when somebody like Gaucho come to say that the Kikuyus are against the president because he is not from his community. They are the ones who benefit when they try to frame the Kikuyu community for organizing the protests that are happening in the country. Gaucho is on record saying that in 2027, William Ruto will lose the election and he will be announced as president, and then they will wait. I don't know with who. They will wait for the people of Mount Kenya in Thika Road.
Hii mambo ya ujinga tumewekwa hapa, history nyingine ndikwe ili watu wasome vistopuzi ya kwamba walikuwa walipigania uhuru ya wapi, mlipigania nani. Sisi tutambui nyinyi, na mkitaka kujua sisi tutambui nyinyi 2027 hata mkiwin Ruto atatangazwa na sisi tunangoja nyinyi hapa Thika Road. Ama namna gani? Kama nyinyi kweli, kama nyinyi ni watoto wa Maumau 2027 Ruto anatangazwa na hiyo kura yenu, na sisi Waluya, Wajaluo na Wakenya tutangoja nyinyi hapa Thika Road mfuke hiyo kama nyinyi ni Maumau. Sisi wazungu ambao mlitoa, sisi mtatoa nyinyi hapa Kenya. Ama namna gani? Ama namna gani? Na mimi nataka kuambia watu wetu, nataka niambie hata ndugu yangu Joaquim presidency huwezi pata through Central, au huwezi. Watu wa Central wanakaa kama nyani. Ukienda Boreta Mpale na Ndizi, unapata nyani wamekaa pale. Chukua hiyo ndizi tupia nyani, alafu ende chukua hiyo ndizi yako. Utapata na kugwara na ndizi ni ya. Hao ndio watu wa Central. Wananyenyekea wakitaka kitu, wakisapata. Hata Wameru wametumia sana na historia ya Ngema. Kwa nini? Kama Ngema ni ukweli, sasa ni Kindiki ni deputy president, wanasema eti anatumika. Eti Kindiki anatumika. My friend, this time round watu wetu
But let me ask you, who can cause such thing? And if at all, he says that his boss is Raila Odinga. Is Raila Odinga really promoting tribalism? You know, I'm a man who respects Raila Odinga so much. But how can he associate himself with somebody like Gaucho? And how can he be there accepting such things? And the other day, he told Rigathi Gachagua that he should know that whenever he speaks, that he should know that his tribesmen are all over Kenya. That there are Kikuyus in Kisumu, there are Kikuyus in Kichogio. He's just threatening a community.
So, mimi nataka nikuambie Gachagua, hata kama ni kurig, tutarig na tutalinda hiyo kura ya Ruto. Wacha tukuambie mapema, kama ni vita mwanzie saa hii, msingoje huko. Unaona, kwa sababu sisi pia supporters wa Raila Odinga na William Ruto tutajipanga. Tunawangoja zaidi vile, wacha vile unaongea kama umejificha kubina. So hata so umeogopa kwenda miale, unafanyiwa kwa nyumba kwa sababu unajua tunaweza kuteka hapo kwa njia. Mimi nataka nikuambie Gachagua, na naambia watu wa Mount Kenya ya kwamba 2027 sisi ndo tumejipanga zaidi. Na hiyo vitu Gachagua anajaribu kutishia nayo watu ya kwamba 2027 Kenya itakuwa. Kwani nani anataka Kenya ikuwe Kenya? Nani anakuadanganya kwamba Kenya anataka ikuwe Kenya? My friend. Usisahau ya kwamba wewe ukiongea lazima ukumbuke ya kwamba nyinyi mko mpaka Mpeketoni. Usisahau ya kwamba nyinyi mko mpaka Busia. Usisahau ya kwamba nyinyi mpaka huko Lokichogio. Usisahau ya kwamba nyinyi mko mpaka Baringo ndani. Usisahau ya kwamba nyinyi mko.
Why is he doing this? Is there a political issue that is going on to make the people of Mount Kenya feel afraid and probably hate themselves? Because they are, right now as I'm speaking to you, I have heard some Kikuyus thinking that we should support government because certain people are saying it, or we should support someone like Raila because they are going to isolate us. I think there's a plan to make maybe the people of Mount Kenya feel afraid of trying to do anything to try and remove the current president. I don't know if it will work, but let me ask you, somebody like Rigathi Gachagua provided a statement and said that in 2027, if the current IEBC commissioners try to rig elections and force William Ruto on Kenyans, that 2007 will look like a Christmas party. I agree with that statement, although I don't agree the way it is framed, because it is kind of graphic, because some people might feel like the statement is graphic because they were involved in the issue of 2007 post-election violence. But I want to ask you, is that worse than Gaucho when he said that they will announce the president, William Ruto, as president, and then they will wait for Kikuyus at Thika Road? Why is it that the government is trying to show the whole country that the only people against the community, against the government, is only Kikuyus? Is there a plan to isolate one community against the whole country? Because I feel like somebody like William Ruto, I don't want to say that he is planning this, but there's some lines that are going in this direction. Because if you look at 2007, they brought something called the Pentagon. And the Pentagon was to unite all tribes against one tribe, Kikuyus. Because they wanted to tell people, Kikuyus always want to stay in power at the expense of other tribes. But at that time, Kikuyus had only ruled for 20 years. If at all you want to say that it's Kikuyu who ruled. Because Jomo Kenyatta had ruled for 15 years, then Kibaki fought. But then the Kalenjin had ruled for 24 years. But then they never talked about the Kalenjin being selfish. They said that Kikuyus were selfish, and they decided to bring that propaganda. And they won the referendum for yes, no. Then 2007, when the election didn't go their way, they had brought a lot of tribal tension in the country. So there was a lot of violence. What this tribal tension that Gaucho is bringing brings violence. Because in 2027, somebody like William Ruto could win, and there is violence because there are tapes that people like Gaucho were involved in telling people that Ruto will win whether they like it or not. And then when Ruto loses, there will still be violence because people like Gaucho are promoting hatred between the Kikuyus and the Luos might decide to bring violence because they don't want people like Kikuyus to be in power. Another thing that I would like to say about these tribal issues, politicians use the communities and the ethnicities for their own tribal gains. If you look at Gachagua, he tries to bring Mount Kenya together for his own tribal gain. Other people try to bring their communities together and to hate each other because of their own tribal gains. Right now, if you say that Kikuyus only want themselves to be the ones leading the country and they feel entitled, I don't think so. Because it's not all Kikuyus that can win an election. It's not all Kikuyus that can win an election. It's only someone who knows how to win an election. Because right now, I am a Kikuyu myself. I cannot win an election just because I am a Kikuyu. You see, it takes somebody who knows how to win. Somebody like Uhuru Kenyatta had a strategy to win that election and to win a second term. Somebody like Kibaki had a strategy to win an election. But if you come from other communities and the person who is representing you does not know how to win an election, because you can't tell me that Kikuyus win elections because their numbers are high. No, they're not that many. They cannot compete with the whole country. It's only that the people who come from that community, who go for power, they have a strategy. They know how to find another community that will support them and top up to the votes that they already, many votes that they have, so that they can cross over the line. Why is it that nobody else does that? Why is it that nobody from other regions does that? Why is it that somebody like William Ruto came and befriended the Kikuyu community and they made him president? But the rest of the communities don't want to do that. They just want Kikuyus to support them, to hand over the power to them without them doing anything, but only them just complaining. Right now there is a tribal tension again within the opposition. People like Matiang'i and his followers from Kisii, and then the Kambas from supporting Kalonzo, they are insisting that Rigathi Gachagua must support their tribesmen. Then who will they support? And they are saying that if Gachagua does not support Kisii, Matiang'i, then the Kisii will go to Ruto. Then Gachagua, the Kamba are saying that if Gachagua does not support the Kambas, then they vote for Ruto. You see, now you see that people have come to a situation that they are not interested in actually removing Ruto. What they are interested in is their tribe being the one to go to power. But is this down to the community, or is this down to the individual that you are presenting to the country? Because at the end of the day, if somebody like Matiang'i wants to win this election, then he has to show the country that he wants to win the election, not to just wait for somebody to endorse him. Kalonzo must show the country like that. Yes, people like Gaucho are bringing this type of tension to make sure even somebody like William Ruto, because in 2027, William Ruto will not have something to say. Last election, he said there was dynasty and there was hustler. What will he say? Because for you to win an election, you have to have something like a propaganda or a narrative. What narrative will he have? He must have a narrative that some community of some region, they believe they are entitled, and they believe that they are the only ones who can lead, and that is why he has been failing in his regime. So he'll easily be able to combine all the other tribes against one community, and that is how he will win the election. So I'm just telling you that this Gaucho guy is a state project, and I don't have any information or any evidence to back my information. But why else is he not arrested? Because some of his words are very, very serious. He must be protected by senior officials in power that are telling him you can just say what you want, nobody will ask you, and we are fully behind you. So let us be careful with this guy called Gaucho. Let us not listen to his tribal stance, and let us be careful because he might take us back to 2007 single-handedly, because he is the one involved in these issues. He is the one involved in the fight between Kikuyus and Luos. He is the one involved in bringing issues that don't make sense to us. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you have enjoyed, please make sure to subscribe to this channel. It's a new channel. Subscribe, and thank you very much. God bless you and peace.